We are back with On the Road of Recovery with Kyle from Miamisburg. How are you doing today?
I'm good.
Thanks so much for coming out and joining us. Can you start off by describing your childhood?
Sure. So I grew up in a home that I would say is the epitome of dysfunction. So my mom had me when she was 17 years old. I didn't know my dad until I was 10 years old. My grandpa was abusive, verbally and physically. And my uncle that I lived in the house with, he used drugs and alcohol. And so my next door neighbors were gang members and robbed pharmacies and Harley shops. And so that was always the fast cars, fast girls, fast money. And that was the lifestyle that I was attracted to.
Okay. So when did you start first experimenting with alcohol or drugs?
So I had my first alcoholic drink at 7, smoked my first cigarette at 7, and then smoked marijuana at the age of 10. Okay. And then by the time I was 15, I'd done every drug there was except for crack and heroin.
Did you start having any consequences at that age?
Well, so I skipped school and would get suspended. I got in fights and got caught selling drugs at school and stuff like that. So I went through the 9th grade 3 times before they finally kicked me out and said, don't worry about coming back. So, yeah. And then, I did 28 days at, a juvenile, treatment program here in Dayton. It was for a crime. It wasn't for drug related stuff, but drugs probably had a lot to do with it. So, and then, yeah, so I experienced some consequences when I was younger.
Okay. So talk about then the progression of your disease.
So I turned 18 and I got sick. I had cancer. And when I had this cancer, the treatment was literally killing me. I went from 190 pounds to 150 pounds in like less than 2 months. Radiation made my teeth fall out. I lost all the hair on my body. Like, it was literally killing me. I tell people, you know what dope sickness is like, magnify that by about 50, and that's what I was going through. And it got so bad that they had quarantined me to my apartment and was coming out and administering my treatments there because my immune system was so compromised. They didn't want me to get sick and die. And one day my daughter's uncle walked in and he had a pipe in his hand and he said, here man, hit this. And I said, what is it? He said, crack. I said, nah, I'm cool on that. Get it out of my face. He said, why, man? It'll make you feel better. I guarantee it. I figured, well, I'm dying anyway, so I might as well. So took a blast, and next thing you know, I was up bouncing around the apartment. And lo and behold, God delivered me from the cancer, but here I was, a crackhead. That's how I caught my first case. Got caught on the west side of Dayton with 1/4 ounce of cocaine. They gave me ILC, but I quickly screwed that up. Caught my first penitentiary number, and then I tried to change some things while I was in there. Like, I got my GED, I stopped smoking cigarettes, I started working out real hard, and my whole mentality was, you know, I just need to be a good dad, need to come home, take care of my kid, and everything was going to be okay. I didn't have an idea about taking a look at my addiction. Like, it hadn't even fully transpired yet. Then I went back to prison shortly after that. About 9 months later, I went back to prison for another charge. And during that time, they started cracking down on all the doctors and all the pharmacies and all that stuff. And so at the time, my drug of choice was pain pills. And when I came home, pills got real hard to find. And heroin just started popping up everywhere. So first time I did heroin, I didn't like it. Like, I snorted a cap. It took forever to kick in. When it did, I was puking my brains out, was sick, and didn't like it. But slowly but surely, as it was all I could get, it grew on me and became my drug of choice. So.
And how long were you actively using heroin for?
So I'd say like 7 years. Okay. Yeah.
Ever experienced any overdoses during that time?
I did. I overdosed one time. I was taking Xanaxes and doing heroin.
And did you experience any other consequences then during that point of your life?
Oh yeah. So I lost tons of friends and family members to overdose. So I was impacted that way. I put my family through hell using drugs. My daughter, she grew up watching me go to jail and high all the time. Her mother actually died due to, it wasn't a direct overdose, but she had pneumonia and she wouldn't go to the hospital and wouldn't get it taken care of because she was using drugs, and eventually she turned septic and ended up passing. So my daughter had to experience that, and then so I experienced a lot of consequences, a lot of loss, loss of material stuff, loss of family, and just time that you can't get back while you was using.
How do you think your addiction affected your daughter?
I think it traumatized her in a lot of ways. We were getting ready to walk her to her first day of first grade, and I got arrested. The cops pulled up and arrested me in the yard as we were getting ready to leave to go to her first day of first grade. So, I mean, that's got to be traumatic, and I just wasn't there for her like I should have been, wasn't present, and so fortunately she's got to see my recovery also. But yeah.
Okay, so let's get up to when you said that you're coming up on 8 years of sobriety, so let's go to 7 years and 11 months ago. What was your life like at that point in time?
So I had been doing what I considered good. I was taking Suboxone and using pills here and there and smoking weed and stuff, but I wasn't smoking crack. I wasn't doing heroin. So in my book, I was doing pretty good. And the beginning of the month rolled around, and I had a bunch of pill deals set up, and so I went on a week-long bender, smoking crack, eating Xanaxes, doing heroin, robbing, stealing everything I could in town, and I got arrested. Like 3 o'clock in the morning, I threw a half a gram of heroin over the fence so I wouldn't get arrested with it. So got to the county jail, and I took a deep, long, hard look at my life. And here I was, almost 30 years old. Didn't have anything to show for life. I'd gotten my grandma's car impounded for like the 5th time because I was out hitting licks in it. And my daughter had to come down and visit me way more than I like to admit at the jail. And waking up in that holding cell with the bologna sandwich with the cookies mashed in it and the little carton of orange juice that wasn't ever enough, and people smell like stinky feet and farting on each other. Like, I don't forget that stuff. And I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. I got a buddy who's got a saying. He says I was busted, disgusted, and not to be trusted. And that's where I was at. And I was just tired of it. So I did the only thing I hadn't done before. Like, I'd tried to control the disease of addiction. I tried to substitute one drug for another. I tried to just drink or just smoke weed or just do pills or just hustle. I even tried to just hustle and be a part of the lifestyle. I think I was more addicted to the lifestyle than I was the drugs. And I just couldn't control it. So I did the only thing I hadn't done yet. I hit my knees and I surrendered, and I prayed and cried out to God and prayed, Lord, come into my life, live in me so I can live through you. And I said that prayer over and over and over until I made sure that he heard me, because I'd been in there before and said them foxhole prayers like, you get me out of this one, I'll never do it again, I swear. And this time it was different. It was sincere. It was from my heart, and I wanted to make sure that he knew that. So did 60 days in the county jail, and then went to a 40-day work release program and started doing community service, volunteering. So one day you was in the program doing T4C, thinking for a change curriculum. The next day you were out in the field volunteering, doing community service and stuff. And that was, I loved it. It was really, really good for me. And so came home from that program, and I came home to the same exact circumstances. Like, I came home to the same house I grew up in, same house I sold dope out of. My next door neighbor was selling dope. My mom in active addiction. Like, nothing changed except for me. And so I spent as little time at that house as possible. We have a nonprofit restaurant in Miamisburg called One Bistro. I spent a lot of time there volunteering. It gave me an opportunity to serve, and it became a safe haven for me. It was like an escape. So my routine was I'd wake up, go do some community service, go to a meeting, and then go to the gym and come home, sleep, wake up, and do it all over again. So really that I was just there to lay my head and spent as little time there as possible.
And did you start being able to rebuild your relationship with your daughter at that time?
Yep. So actually, I got full custody of her after her mother had passed away. I actually got custody of her, and I was still using when that happened. So my mom had temporary custody of her, but when I got clean, I was able to gain full custody of her, and she lived with me. And I mean, even through my addiction, I was always there and supported her and stuff along those lines. But it was definitely completely different when I got sober. And to be honest, it was hard. It was strained. Like, I traumatized her and gave her lots of reasons not to trust me. So yeah, it was definitely a process to rebuild that and to gain her trust and to really get to know her.
So can you talk a little bit about then how you continued down this path of recovery? What did you continue doing then?
So for the first 18 months of my recovery, I didn't miss a meeting, and I did AA, NA, Celebrate Recovery. I did church, I did Bible study, I did anything and everything that I could. I kind of had a motto, like if you wasn't doing something positive for yourself, then you were getting stagnant and getting lazy. And so I had a lot of great people hold me accountable, sponsors, mentors, and people that would motivate me. So early on in my recovery, I was fortunate to be able to start a nonprofit and start a recovery housing program. So it's called Whole Truth Ministries. We provide transitional housing for men coming out of incarceration and drug treatment in the Montgomery County area, and now in Warren County as well. And over the last 8 years, we could sit here for 2 hours and I can tell you about all the awesome stuff that God's done in my life. And
well, let's share a couple of highlights.
Okay, so I got married. That's definitely one of the biggest. Had a second daughter, who she's about to be 4 in September 26th. Have been able to operate 4 recovery houses. So like throughout that brings its own host of blessings, and seeing guys get it, and just being able to pour into people's lives and to see people set free. Really, it's awesome. Material stuff, I've been fortunate enough to own my own business, run businesses, help build businesses for other people, mentor people in starting businesses. My job now is I'm a care coordinator for the Hope Line. So it's my job to drive around and talk to people about getting in treatment. I go pick people up, take them to treatment, take people to recovery housing, sober livings. But first and foremost, the biggest blessing of my recovery is when I wake up in the morning, I don't have to chase no drug. I ain't got to chase no drink. I ain't got to chase no girl. I ain't got to chase no dollar. Like, I've really been set free from that whole lifestyle and that hustle mentality. And that's probably definitely the biggest blessing and motivator. And that's what keeps me going. Is I work with people every day that are on the streets and homeless and strung out, and people that are talking to themselves and spun out on meth, and that it's not appetizing to me. I tell people, like, if I was to relapse, it would be like me spitting in God's face, telling him all this stuff that you've done for me wasn't worth it. And my best day using doesn't compare to my worst day high, for sure. And you hear people say that all the time, but like, there's nothing that's a part of that lifestyle that would choose me to turn away from what I have today.
So I appreciate you talking about that choice, because coming up on 8 years, you've definitely put some time together and really rebuilt your life. So what are those? How do you keep that recovery fresh and continue to have this sense of peace that you very clearly have?
So being of service is big for me. It's what worked in the beginning, and it's what still works for me. So as an addict, I want what I want when I want it. I don't care who or what I gotta go through to get it. I'm gonna get it. And on the other side of that, doing something for somebody and not holding my hand out expecting something in return was the most rewarding feeling I ever felt. So that kind of became my new drug of choice. And so being of service to other people, and I tell guys this all the time, like when I'm picking guys up, taking them to meetings and stuff, guys that are in my recovery houses, we have a meeting. Like we're talking about, everything. And so that helps keep me fresh. People ask me what I do for hobbies and for downtime, and for me that's turning my phone off and spending time with my family and being with them. My peace and my serenity are definitely a priority. My family's a priority, and helping others are my priorities.
So they often talk about the we of a program and needing support and building a support system. How did you go about doing that?
Yeah, so like I said, when I was working the 12 steps, I had sponsors, spiritual mentors, so guys that I went to church with, guys I met doing Bible studies and stuff like that. People in the community. I've had business mentors. So I try to let stuff like that happen organically. I don't tell people, like the guys that are in our program, I don't appoint them a sponsor or tell them what meetings to go to or what program they're going to work or who they have to talk to and stuff like that. We create an environment where guys are always around, successful guys that can mentor. So if somebody was struggling today, like somebody fresh got out of treatment, I would encourage them to go to meetings. Find a sponsor, just keep going to meetings until they get familiar with somebody, and to see somebody that has something in life that they want and something that they can relate to and ask that person to be your sponsor. Call them every day, talk to them, build a relationship, build some rapport, and be honest with them is definitely probably the key factor.
So can you talk about a challenge that you faced in recovery and how you worked through that and maintained your sobriety?
Yep. So I had about 9 months clean, and I was clean in the house, felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. We have a festival called the Spring Fling. Spring Fling was coming up. I didn't have any money. I was cleaning the house and picked up a chair, and when I did, a crack pipe fell out. And I dismissed it, picked it up, threw it away, and then I was walking outside and I was taking the trash out. And I remember dropping the trash in the trash can, looking over, and my neighbor's dope boy was pulling out of the driveway. I thought, man, I ought to go get one. But I didn't, and I called my sponsor. He talked me down, and I went and I sat down and I wrote out a gratitude list. And it's, I share it every time I share my story and with people that I'm speaking to crowds and stuff like that, and it's called What's God Done For Me. So that was definitely like the biggest challenge of where my recovery was in jeopardy and I wanted to use.
So it sounds like a lot of your dreams have come true and you have this beautiful life. Is there anything else that you see for yourself in the future, or other goals that you have that you are working towards?
Yeah, so I would love to have a successor to take over Whole Truth Ministries when I'm done, because I don't plan on doing this forever. And I know that, since I'm the founder and started it, like I can only take it so far, and then I would want somebody else to take it over. And then to see my daughters get married and have their own lives and have grandkids and all that stuff. I look forward to that. And when I retire, I want to live on a lake. So my wife and I have talked about doing a tiny home or a storage container home and having a lake with a porch, and we'll have a chocolate lab, and she wants a golden doodle, and so we want to have a deck that looks out on the lake where we can just sit there and throw sticks out in the water and let the dogs bring them back to us. And travel, I love travel. I haven't been out west yet. I've been Florida to Canada, but as far west as I've went, it's like Indiana. So I'm gonna go out like California, go Texas and Arizona and all that good stuff. So
Well, and those things are possible today.
Yeah.
When you were struggling and, you obviously worked a program and worked hard at it, were there any words of hope that really resonated with you that you could share with somebody who may be struggling?
The main thing that I would tell anybody is be honest. Like, no matter what, honesty wins. So whether it's your feelings, whether it's your stuff that you wreckage from your past, like, honesty is definitely the best way, because we spent so much time lying, cheating, stealing, manipulating. Like, I had a great mentor tell me, he said, you thought wrong for so long. He said, chances are if you think it's right, it's probably wrong. So he said, you got to question your intentions and your motives, and you got to bounce stuff off of other people. So I always tell people an addict alone's in bad company. So some of the things that really, really stuck with me early on in recovery was do the 90 meetings in 90 days, change the people, places, and things, and get a sponsor and build a support network. So I did all that stuff, and throughout that process, doing those 90 meetings in 90 days, I was able to change the people, places, and things. Going to meetings was changing the places. The people that I was starting to talk with and hang out with after the meetings, go out to eat with after the meetings and stuff like that, was changing the people. And then also changing the things too, because now I wasn't getting high and bottling my feelings up, masking them. I was actually talking about them, working through them, and hanging out with people that, went through that same stuff and that could talk about it and share about it too. So I would say, like, it's okay to learn. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to let those walls down. And it's definitely a process. I always tell people, relapse doesn't have to be a part of your process, but if it is, let it light a fire under your butt and motivate you to do what you need to get serious about your recovery.
Well, thank you so much for coming out today. We really appreciate it. Your story is beautiful and really going to help so many people that are alone and they think that there's no hope and there's no way out. You're really proof that there's a way out of active addiction and to freedom of recovery.
Yeah, thanks for what you guys are doing. I think it's awesome.
Thank you.